Over the last couple of weeks, I've tested 5 different rapid trigger keyboards. I've tried the Wooting, Razer Huntsman V3 Pro, SteelSeries Apex Pro, Polar 65 by Arbiter Studios, and AOAKO MOD007B. And today we're going to find out which one of them is the fastest. First, let me explain how the testing was done. Here's a compact Sony camera, the RX100 Mark VII, which allows me to record videos at 1000 frames per second. I used that camera to record a slow motion video showing the release of the switch and how long it takes for the effect to take place on the screen. My game of choice is Apex Legends, and I assigned the scope and unscope button to one of the control buttons. When I release the switch, the aim downside stops and the animation happens. The idea is to measure how long it takes between the switch starts releasing and the unscoping animation on the screen is visible. Now, as you can probably guess, this method takes into account not only the latency of the keyboard, but the latency of your PC and monitor as well. But what we are trying to see here is to find out which keyboard introduces the least amount of latency into your system. So we're going to look at the differences between each of the keyboard and not exactly the numbers, because they can be different on each system. To make the final results as accurate as possible, I made sure to use the same USB cable connected to the same USB port on my PC and make sure that the same applications are running in the background. All keyboards had their lowest rapid trigger sensitivity setting enabled, so it was 0.1 mm for all keyboards except the Wooting, which allows you to set 0.15 mm rapid trigger sensitivity. I took at least 10 measurements and calculated the average delay for each of the keyboards. And apart from the average value, I'm also going to show the minimum and maximum values I was able to register. Alright, let's see the results. First, we have the Polar 65, one of the latest keyboards I've tested. The average delay is 31 milliseconds with maximum value of 39 milliseconds and minimum value of 25 milliseconds. Next up is Wooting, which had an average of 26 milliseconds with the maximum value of 33 milliseconds and a minimum value of just 21 milliseconds. The Razer Huntsman V3 Pro averages at 30 milliseconds with maximum value of 41 milliseconds and minimum of 21 milliseconds. Next up is SteelSeries Apex Pro, which averages at 36 milliseconds and has a maximum value of 38 milliseconds and a minimum value of 32 milliseconds. Finally, we have the AOAKO MOD007B with KL-Pink switches, which had an average delay of 34 milliseconds, maximum value was at 38 milliseconds and minimum was at 30 milliseconds. By the way, if you want to support the channel and see similar comparisons, please subscribe to the channel, it really makes videos like this possible. Alright, time for some conclusions. I was really positively surprised by the performance of the Polar 65 and Razer Huntsman V3 Pro. They're really fast, falling short of the Wooting just by 4 milliseconds and 3 milliseconds respectively, and that 1 millisecond difference between them is basically a margin error, so you could say both are equally as fast. SteelSeries was the slowest of the pack at 36 milliseconds, but it was just 2 milliseconds slower than the AOAKO MOD007B and just 10 milliseconds slower than the Wooting 60HE. Since the implementation of the rapid trigger here from SteelSeries seems like an afterthought after the Wooting gained traction and attention from gamers, I think there's still place for improvement, and I wouldn't be surprised if SteelSeries released another version of this keyboard where they actually focus on the rapid trigger feature as the core of their keyboard. Either way, 36 milliseconds is a great result. And finally, AOAKO is a great competitor here, not only because it stays somewhere in the middle when it comes to performance at 34 milliseconds, but it also offers, I think, the best value out of those 5 I've tested. Apart from rapid trigger and analog features, it also offers you the ability to connect it via Bluetooth to your laptop or some other device, and via wireless dongle that will increase the latency by around 10-12 milliseconds, but it gives you the freedom to use your keyboard wirelessly, which is also a great feature. It's also much cheaper than the big brown counterparts. And there you have it, all 5 keyboards compared. I hope it will help you make a more educated decision when you decide to purchase your next rapid trigger keyboard. A great thing here is that none of them pass the 40 millisecond mark, which is great, and it means that they will all offer you a lightning fast response times. In the end, Wooting is still king when it comes to latency, probably thanks to the very good rapid trigger implementation and tachyon mode, which prioritizes the scanning of the keys instead of RGB effects and so on, and this was enabled here just for the record. But the competition isn't far behind. I mean, 3-4 millisecond difference is basically nothing, and you definitely won't notice it during everyday use. Either way, thanks so much for watching. I'm Laser, and I'll see you in the next video.